Hey everyone, how are you? It's Anne O'Connell here with OC Publishing, and welcome to the author journey. One of my favorite times of the week. I love chatting with authors and industry professionals. And this week, I am so excited to have a guest who I met at Booktoberfest just a short while ago. I was wandering around, and this book absolutely caught my eye, grabbed my attention, and I just absolutely had to have the author on and talk to her. So I am going to show you. Look how beautiful is this. No wonder this caught my eye, right? The Adventures of Spenser the Church Mouse. And of course, as a children's literature lover myself, this is by Tracy Barron, who is with us today and is going to tell us about this unbelievable story. There's quite a great background to this story. I'll let her tell you about it, but I'm going to tell you about her before I get her to join me as I'm dropping things here. She's a former journalist who has won local, national, and international awards. She spent much of her reporting career at the Telegram and CBC in Newfoundland and Labrador. She has worked in communications in Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia for the last 20 years. She is an amateur historian, a genealogist, and a writer. A native of Rawdon Gold Mines, Hants County, Nova Scotia, Tracy moved the former Rawdon Gold Mines Union Church to where her great-great-grandparents' farmhouse once stood. And 4 generations of the Barron family were raised, and repurposed it into her home. Now that is quite a feat, and I'm going to let her tell you about that feat and just how Spenser plays into this whole idea. So, whoopsie. Hang on. Oh, where is Tracy? Add to stage. Okay, I'm having a little technical difficulty here. I'm not sure why. I am not able. Okay, wait a minute. There we go. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. They have changed the interface, StreamYard. So all of a sudden it's like trying to figure out the solo layout. Anyway, welcome, Tracy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I was worried there for a minute. Hello, everybody.
I was worried too, but you know what? It's again the joys of broadcasting live. So I am so excited about this book, and like I said, it drew my attention immediately. It is stunning, and you know, Spenser is a star in your life, and so how did Spenser come about?
Yeah, well, Spenser is, yes, he's an important character for me. And one thing it makes it jump out, the illustrations for Spenser are just gorgeous. I'm so happy with those. And my illustrator was Georgia Graham, so I have to give her a big shout out right from the top because she really brings Spenser. She brings Spenser alive. But as you indicated off the top, I did move the church in my hometown. It was the Rawdon Gold Mines Union Church, and it was slated to be torn down. I was home from Newfoundland visiting because my dad actually was being treated for cancer, and so my mom and I were driving into Halifax to see him in hospital, and we drove by the closed up church. And I said to my mom, I was like, okay, what's going to happen to the church? And she said, well, it's slated to be torn down. So from that point on until the hour it took to get to the hospital, we had decided that a great idea would be for me to take the church and move it up to family land, turn it into a house. So Dad was a little surprised when we told him about the plan when we got in there, but so we dreamt it up on the hospital in an hour that day.
That's incredible, and it's more than just a church that's been around for 100 years. This church is very near and dear to your heart for a number of reasons. You want to talk a little bit about just how far back your family's involvement goes with this church?
Sure. The church is about 118 years old now, I think. But the church was built by the farmers and laborers and in the community. They put their volunteer labor into constructing it.
Wow.
And it served the denominations of the Methodist, the Anglicans, and the United at that time. My great grandparents lived in the community. I have a history in that community since my family came up after the American Revolution in the late 1780s and settled in what was then the Douglas Township. So we're going back there a bit. But my family is still in the area. So the church was built in 1908, and at that time, my great grandparents, whose land on which I have put the church, they attended services there and supported the church. My great grandfather, he actually lit the fires and supplied the wood for the church when it opened in 1908 for 50 cents a month.
Wow.
Yeah, and so one of the beautiful stained glass windows in the church is in memory of my great grandparents.
Is that it?
No, that one's not it.
But that's a gorgeous illustration.
Yeah, but the one that's on the cover is it.
Okay. Oh, wow.
That's on the cover, yeah.
We're going to double it here.
And so that's in memory of them. And there's a little crack in it. And the crack has been in it from the day that it was put in the 60s. And that day, my grandfather was there as it was being installed, and he stepped backwards onto it and broke it. And so it was cracked when it went up, and it's been cracked to this day. So my grandfather left his mark on that window as well.
Oh, wow. So this really is like a tribute to your history, to the community, to your grandparents, great grandparents, and now you're living in it. What was it like to move and renovate a church? Like, what parts of it have you kept? What was that process like?
Yep. I just want to touch on what you first started with about the family connection. So I'll just mention that my grandmother taught Sunday school there. I went to church there with my grandmother every Sunday, and my dad was a Sunday school student there. Myself and my siblings were all baptized there. The baptismal font is now a sink up in my loft. That I was baptized in.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, there are a lot of connections, and but when it comes to actually moving the church, I have tried to keep it as much to the original as possible. I want, I've from the beginning, I wanted to showcase the building itself. It's a beautiful building. There's beautiful stained glass windows in it. And I didn't want to put rooms in it so that it would chop it up and detract from any of that. So I've left it open. So, no matter where you stand in the room, you can see the 6 Gothic style stained glass windows, 3 on each side. And there's 2 half ones in the end. It's got 18-foot cathedral ceilings with the original wood and the original light fixtures that were put in when electricity came through.
Wow.
So people come in and they do. It looks like it used to, except it's now full of furniture.
And did you keep any of the pews?
Yes, I kept the Barron pew, of course, because each family had their specific pew that they would sit in. So I have the one for the Barron pew, but I also have 3 others that I do host music nights in the church now, and so I have the pews set up for people to sit in. So it's it's still very much a church experience, and the music is phenomenal. The acoustics are great.
Oh, and did you keep the organ?
Oh, the original pump organ is in the church.
Wow.
Actually, a member of the community did have the did have the pump organ, but after I renovated my house, she sent her husband up to my house with the organ in the back of their truck, saying that she felt that it deserved to be home, and that's it. Yeah.
Look at, I mean, just unbelievable. That's just incredible. I love that. And I mean, it's so special that you envisioned it as your home, because a lot of people see, old churches that are empty, the congregation has sort of aged out, but they want to refurbish it and repurpose it. But it's rare. I don't know. Do you know of any other individuals like in Nova Scotia or in the Atlantic provinces that have renovated and now live in a church?
Oh, yeah, actually, there's quite a few.
Is
Quite a
there?
few of us now.
Okay.
And one of a book that I'm working on right now is actually called. It's going to be called, tentatively called, Salvation, Repurposed
Right.
Churches of Nova Scotia. And I'm going around the province now, meeting with the owners of these repurposed churches.
I love
And
it.
so some of them are people who are living in them, like I am.
Mhm.
There's a studio in Cape Breton. There's a lot of churches that have been repurposed into performance spaces.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going around the province, meeting these people, and getting photographs, and that will be a book that will be coming out in the fall of 2026, so next year.
Oh, that's wonderful. And as a self-professed historian, that must warm your heart to see these places being saved, really.
I feel so fortunate that I am able to do that project, because it is wonderful to go in, and everyone who has taken a church and repurposed it into something has a story behind it.
Oh.
They have a connection to it,
Yeah.
and I feel very fortunate that I'm able to share in their stories and tell their stories to other people, because they are great stories, and it's so important that we
Yeah.
preserve our heritage
Absolutely.
for our communities and for future generations.
Mhm.
And our built heritage is so important, and we are losing so much of it.
Yeah.
So-
And so why a children's book?
Well,
Which, I mean, I love.
when I moved to church, and in that first winter I was in it, there by myself with my cat, and a visit from my dad's dog. He would stay with me a lot, and we were in there alone, and there was a mouse in the wall, and
Okay.
he stayed in the wall. I call him a he. It might have been a she, but in my mind, he was a he.
Yeah.
And he stayed in the wall, and it was just almost comforting that he was there, and he didn't come into my space, and I didn't interfere with him, and I didn't set out a trap or anything to catch him.
Mhm.
And so that, because I saw him as he's my little church mouse.
Yeah.
And so that's where it came from. I started thinking at that time that about this mouse in the wall as a little church mouse,
And
and
he was.
and he was
He was, right.
And so I had been keeping it in my mind that this would make a good story. And I was on the at Halifax Dartmouth Ferry going to work one morning, and somebody that I knew from Newfoundland, who was a publisher, was on the ferry that morning, and so he knew I had moved back to Nova Scotia, to my home, to renovate the church. So I told him all about it, and he said, that would make a great children's book. So if you do write it, let me know. And so I
Fabulous.
wrote it, and I contacted him and said, I wrote the book. Are you interested in it? I sent it to him, and here we are.
Oh, fabulous. And shout out to Boulder Books, and let's just have a look. There's your page on Boulder Books. And so this is a good spot for folks to learn more about you. And I believe Spenser has his own Facebook page. So anybody who wants to know more about Spenser, but let's meet Spenser. Why don't you read us a little bit from the book?
Oh,
and
sure.
Introduce us to Spenser.
I would love to. Okay, so chapter 1. This is a story about a little gray mouse and the day his whole world changed. His name is Spenser. Spenser lived in an empty wooden country church, a church mouse, you might say. Spenser dressed sharply for a single mouse living alone. He always wore his Sunday best, white shirt, green vest, gold pocket watch that matched his wire glasses, and black pants and shoes. Spenser's clothes were well worn. His mother had sewn patches on them to cover the holes. Spenser liked his house and his life. He could run across the pews, climb high into the steeple, and tickle the ivories of the old organ if he jumped hard enough up and down on the keys. Other mice Spenser knew lived in tiny, crowded places, some in basements, and some even in holes in the ground. He liked space, and he liked being dry. So Spenser felt lucky, blessed even. It was a quiet life in the country, giving him lots of time to read and do crosswords. He had his favorite padded pew where he could have an afternoon nap with the sun shining in on him through the large stained glass windows. At night, he stretched out on a board in the steeple. He liked the height. He felt safe there. And in the morning, the sun shone on him, waking him to a new day of adventure. And there's Spenser in the steeple, if you can see that. Chapter 2. Spenser's house wasn't always so quiet. The big people used to come on Sundays. They played music on the organ and sang, and sometimes even dropped breadcrumbs when they drank from the big cup. Once the celebration ended and the big people left, he would collect the breadcrumbs and eat like a king for a week. Breadcrumbs are a real treat for a mouse, the mouse version of ice cream. The following Sunday, the big people would come back for another party of singing and music. Life was good. But lately, the big people weren't coming on Sundays anymore. At first, fewer people came for the parties until eventually no one came at all. Spenser got lonely. There was no music for Spenser to dance to and no breadcrumbs for him to eat. Spenser never questioned why the big people had left. It was just the way it was. He got used to it. One day, the quiet life Spenser had come to know changed. Spenser's whole world came crashing down. It started with a thud, then another thud, then another. Spenser scrambled to get to a hole in the wall so he could see what was happening. Spenser's church house was shaking and dust was falling from the ceiling as he held on with all his might. His heart was pounding louder than it had ever pounded before. And I think that's where I'll leave it.
Oh, his heart was pounding. Oh, suspense. Yay. So everyone's going to have to get a copy of Spenser and find out how that ended.
Because this is a book about Spenser's adventure the day that his home moved. Right. And the adventures that he got up to. So the rest of it gets into those adventures, and I don't want to give that away.
Don't give that away. But what is it that you want readers to come away with, both, the children who are enjoying it and the big people who are reading to the littles? Like, what would you like them to come away with?
Well, I think that for me, the importance of history and preserving our history is an important theme. Mm-hmm. I think that there are some nice themes that people can that teachers or parents can draw upon in talking to their children. There's loneliness. There's taking risks. There's the importance of history. There's with the woodland creatures that he meets along the way. It talks about the importance of friends. Mm-hmm. And so there are hopefully a lot of little snippets in there that the kids will identify with.
I love it.
Their lives.
I love it. And in a previous life, I was a preschool teacher, and studied children's literature, and I published children's books. I love children's books. So I'm really, when I'm drawn to a book, it's just I just like, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. So where did you come up with the name Spenser? Is that
Spenser is a name. Spenser Tracy is a name that I had heard a lot when I was growing up, and I like the name Spenser. And if I was going to have children, I never did, but if I was, my boy was going to be called Spenser. So in this book, I have I got to name my little church mill Spenser, and this book really memorializes the journey of renovating the church, that family journey, also my family connection with it, and it also memorializes my dog Rusty, who has a great illustration in there, and Rusty's no longer with us. So this book just ties a big bow around the whole project.
Wow, everything. And I have so many questions. So when you started working with the illustrator, Georgia, was that her name?
Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, and she's in Calgary, right?
She's in Alberta, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you share with her your vision? Like, how did it go from the words to these absolutely gorgeous illustrations?
Well, that was a fun process. I had in my mind what Spenser would look like and what the illustrations would look like. Mm-hmm. And I described that to my publisher, Gavin Will, and Boulder Books, and they looked at some of the illustrators that they had worked with in the past, and they had found Georgia, and they contacted me and said, here's her website, look at her stuff. We think that this would be a good match for you. And I did. I looked at her stuff and I thought, no, she's perfect. Awesome. And so the publisher matched us up based on the style that we were looking for. Mm-hmm. And it was great because she really took to Spenser. She really fell in love with Spenser as much as I did. Mm-hmm. And she's written about she's illustrated 22, 23 children's books. Nice. And she said that this was one of her favorites to illustrate because the story was almost real. Yeah. So I was able to send her photographs of the actual move. So all of the illustrations are based on photos of the move that day with Spenser incorporated in. I knew that I wanted the feel to be like the Burgess books that I read when I was a kid. And I wanted the book to be the size and the hardcover like it was the ones that I had as a kid. So working with her and going back and forth with her first version of Spenser and going back and saying, well, no, I think that he needs to have more of a mimosa's nose, or going back and forth with that. And
he needs more patches on his pants.
Exactly. But at the same time, I did write the book in a way that it was very descriptive. Yes. So by reading it, she could very easily come up with the illustrations for that. Right. And she's so talented. They're just beautiful.
They're so realistic.
I must say the book turned out exactly the way I pictured it when I started out. So I couldn't be more pleased with it.
Oh, that's so incredible. And I love that the publisher included you in the decision process. I think that's amazing. And again, shout out to Boulder Books. So, and I just have to say, like, even his fur, like, look how, like, it almost moves. Yeah. Right? It's so beautiful.
She's fantastic.
So incredible. So I also want to ask you a little bit about your writing style. So this was your first children's book. Mm-hmm. You have spent, the majority of your career in professions that require a significant amount of writing, mm-hmm. but journalistic writing, corporate communications is very different than writing a children's book. Like, how did you make that shift?
Right. Well, I think I find that everything that I have done in my life has led me to the next thing that I've done in my life. And I learned, I went to journalism school at 19, and I learned, and I was a newspaper reporter, and
Mhm.
I had a particular style as a newspaper reporter. I write short sentences.
Mhm.
I get to the point. You're not going to have a lot of flowery,
Mhm.
in it. I'm very, very, very to the point.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how I develop my skills based on
Mhm.
that. And then
Mhm.
as you progress as a writer, then you can take a few more risks, and you can experiment a little bit
Mhm.
more once you have those, the
The
those
basics.
writing skills down.
Mhm.
I've actually been told more than once that my style is similar to Ernest Hemingway. Not on the
Yeah.
scale of Ernest
Yeah.
Hemingway, mind you,
Mhm.
but because of the newspaper approach to my writing. So
Mhm.
I always write in short sentences. I always
Mhm.
write simply with simple words,
Yeah.
because as a newspaper reporter,
That's what you do.
that's what you do. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You had to write for your audience.
Yep.
So I continued to do that, and even when I left journalism and went into government communications, one thing that we needed to do is, and the reason why there are government communicators, is we need to take the jargon,
You have to
uh,
simplify.
and the
Mhm.
legalese and the
Mhm.
legislative language, and
Mhm.
simplify it for Nova Scotians, so that they understand what
Yep.
their government is doing and why. So
Absolutely.
that continued throughout it, and I think with my job as a reporter prepared me so well for my job as a government communicator, and both of those writing experiences prepared me for this next chapter I'm in now,
Love it.
which is, this is my first book, which is great, but I do have the sequel to Spenser Goes Sailing, which is with Georgia now,
I love
for her
that.
illustrations, and that will be out next. That will be out next fall,
Excellent.
as well. And then, of course, then out of this came the idea for my third book, which is Repurposed Churches of Nova Scotia.
Oh, that's so nice.
So, the repurposing the church led me to this children's book, and then this children's book has led me to this other project now.
I love it.
So it's really evolved very naturally.
I love that. And are you retired now or still working?
I am not working at this point. I was laid off from my provincial government job,
Oh,
so I'm taking this opportunity to do the writing projects that I wanted
nice.
to do before
Nice.
I go back out there.
Yeah.
So I'm taking this year to get Spenser 2 out there, and to get this other book out into the world before I have to go
Fair
back
enough.
and into the real world again.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, take advantage of every moment that you can.
I
Get
am.
Spenser Goes Sailing out because I would love to read it. And I am really looking forward to those stories about of the other churches that have been renovated. So, any final advice for a new author who's just, getting their feet wet?
Yeah, I don't want to discourage anyone, because like this, it's not easy. It's not
Mm-mm.
easy to get a book idea out and accepted. I've been
Mhm.
fortunate, um, but it's not easy. But I think that it's so important for people to connect with other writers,
Mhm.
either through a writing group,
Oh, good
or
advice.
because I was involved with the Evergreen Writers here in Dartmouth, and learned a lot about their styles, and how my style um, compared to theirs, and how it's okay for me to have my own style, and they can have their style, and that it's all part of
Yep.
the process, and gives you a little bit of confidence.
Yep.
You're able to sit at the table and read your stuff. I was
Mm.
able to read Spenser's story at that table and get some feedback from some of those
Awesome.
writers. So I think that that's really, really important. Just connect with other writers, and keep writing, and don't get discouraged.
Oh, I love that. And that is perfect advice to end with and a perfect note. Thank you so much. And I want to know more about the music nights at the church. But maybe you can add something into the comments and let folks know. But if you want to learn more about Tracy and Spenser, you can go to boulderbooks.ca/authors/Tracy-Barron. If you want to know more about Spenser, he has his very own Facebook page, The Adventures of Spenser the Church Mouse. And I want to thank you again, Tracy, for joining us today on the author journey, and happy writing.
Well, thank you so much, Anne, for having me. And I'll just say that Spenser is available in Indigo stores. It's also available online from the publisher Boulder Books or Amazon, and it's also available in some select independent stores.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for adding that. I meant to ask you that. Excellent. Well, thank you again, Tracy, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty. And thank you for joining us on the author journey. Today, I'm Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing, and I hope you're reading some great books and you're writing up a storm. So we'll see you again on the author journey. Bye for now.